make some floating candles, and hopefully you already have everything you need for these ones. So we need some toilet rolls, enough LED candles for each toilet roll, some invisible string, some white paint, and of course a paintbrush, and then some white card or card that you can paint white, and a glue gun. I'm also going to hang mine from this gold ring, but you can also use a hanger if you wanted to, or just tack them up into the ceiling. So let's get going, and we're going to start by painting all of the toilet rolls white and then leaving them overnight to dry. So this hopefully should be relatively quick and easy. All we're going to do is paint each one of these white. I'm just using white acrylic paint. And the great thing about this is that they're going to be seen from a height, so they don't particularly need to be perfect. Painting is done. That was quick and easy, a little bit messy. I have done each one just once, and I've just touched up any bits that needed to be touched up. So now I'm going to leave it to dry. So everything is now dried, so now I'm going to use the glue gun to effectively drip the glue down the top so it looks like it's the wax coming over the top. I'm not sure how it's going to go because my glue gun isn't thick, if that makes any sense. So yeah, we're just going to see how it goes. Same technique, we're going to go all the way around the top first. It's hard to be not precise after trying to be precise with this for other crafts. Right, so all the way around the top once. So now I'm going to drip down, retrace my steps, drip down, retrace. Okay, pretty cool. Let me just go a bit closer so you can see. I think that actually looks really cool. So it's actually dripping down naturally as well. Yeah, okay, I'm going to go finish the rest of them. All of them are now done, so I'm going to leave them to dry. They are kind of dry, but I want them to cool down a little bit first, and then I'm going to paint them one more time. Everything is now dry, and I think everything is actually looking really, really cool. You can see the like gluey bits dripping down, which I love. I'm going to now glue the bottom and put each toilet roll onto the piece of card. I'm going to let it dry and cut it out, and then I'm going to do one more coat of paint because I do think it needs a little bit more paint, and then after that I'm going to fill them up, put some invisible string in, put the LED lights in, and then we are good to go. So hopefully just one more day of drying for these ones. I'm not going to paint the bottom because the bottom already looks pretty good. So all I'm going to do is just paint everything one more time in white, including the glue, which obviously I haven't painted yet. So hopefully this is just as quick and as easy as it was the first time. I'm not going to be too precious. I'm just going to whack the paint on. I know on the camera it looks like it's, or at least to me, it looks like it's done a really good coat of white already, but actually in real life it's a bit light, let's say. Cardboard is now all attached to the bottoms, and they have all had a second coat of paint, and I actually think that makes it look so good. So bottoms are all done. So next we are going to let it dry overnight. We're going to stuff the inside with the kind of cardboard filler, and then I'm going to put holes in either side about here where I'm going to poke the invisible string through, and then the LED is going to sit on top. Yay! It's now been a couple of days and everything is looking really good, and the coat of paint is definitely looking thick enough. The bottom is looking really good. So the next stage is to basically put the candles in. I've decided to pop in some kind of, I'm going to call it stuffing. It's just the stuff that comes in like package boxes. I'm just going to put that on the inside to give it a little bit of something. I'm just going to say something. I'm not going to be too precious about how much I put in. I'm just going to make sure I don't kind of shove it in, because if I do, the bottom's going to come off. So let's just put a little bit in there, and I'm going to push it down against the bottom. So now the candle would just sit in there. It's a little bit wonky, but that doesn't really matter. And then I'm going to put the string in a little bit higher. So, and the good thing is that this doesn't need to be very precise. It doesn't need to be very thick. It just needs to be underneath where the bulb would sit. So I'm going to go back there. On this side, if I can push it through. Oh, there we go. That went, I don't want to say that went through my finger. Perfect, that one's through. I can get my invisible string, and it's got this little bendy thing, thank goodness, that I don't actually have to thread any of the thread through. And I'm going to just make sure it's long enough. Okay, so hopefully if I get my string through this weird needle thing, I need about half of it to go through, And then I'm going to find my holes, if I can find where I made the holes in the toilet paper. So one is here, so hopefully you can see I've made a hole big enough with the needle, because this is very thin, but it's very dull, so it wouldn't be able to have poked through. I'm going to put the toilet paper down a little bit, and then it's roughly even on the other side. There we go. So I don't know if you can see, but the needle is now through, and then I'm going to take the string out the other side and just make sure it doesn't come out fully. I'm going to hold one side, let the other side pull through. Wonderful. So far this will float on its own, and I'm not bothered in the slightest as to whether it hangs even or not, so that might be a bit wonky. It's a floating candle, it doesn't matter whether it's even or not. So this would sit like it just fell off. This would sit like that. Everything has been strung up and I think they look really cool. So now I'm going to tie these to my gold band, and then afterwards I'm going to turn the candles on and then put the candles in, because I think that'll just be a little bit easier and it saves battery. So if I just pick up the band and I just put it down, and then I'm just going to tie it, and that's going to be it, to be honest. Whee! Oh. So it's actually been a few hours, but I now have a better plan because tying it on just didn't work. So I'm going to wrap the string around this metal loop thing and then glue it in place. I'm going to glue a gap between each string so that it doesn't kind of come to a pinch at the top, because I think that'll be easier to get the candle in. Hopefully that's quick and easy. My glue gun is ready to go, as I can see, so I'm just gonna try it. So I'm actually just going to wrap the wire around it a couple of times like this, and I'm going to pull it really close together, and then I'm just going to glue it in place. You know, I can tie it, I guess, if I want to, but to be honest, tying it was a bit rubbish earlier, so I think I'm just going to do this, and then I think I'm going to mind my fingers, and then I'm going to glue it in place. So new plan, we are doing one tiny knot, like a reef knot I think it is, with the string right at the very top, and then gluing the knot because it was just too much faff otherwise. And I've done two, and so far it's working and they are holding, which is so much more progress than I had with the other versions of me trying to do this. Let's do some more. So I've set the lighting, and all I need to do now is pop my candles in. I've decided to put the toilet paper in the circle, because then I know I can lift them all up without any of them kind of knocking each other over. So let's see how we go. Ready? Magic. So I'm just going to spin them so you can see them a little bit better. I think that looks so cool. Was it worth the hassle? You are going to have to tell me. Do you think it looks cool? I cannot tell you how excited I am to make these ghosts. So you will need some material. I'm using cheesecloth, but you can use kind of muslin, creepy cloth, anything like that looks spooky. We then need some glue, so I'm just going to use some PVA and a little bit of water in a mixing bowl. We need balloons, and then something to put our balloons in when we are ready. And then in a couple of days' time we will need some felt or black material, obviously scissors to cut things up with, and then I'm just going to use some baking paper to protect my surfaces so I don't get glue everywhere. So I'm so excited for this one, let's get going. So we are using our baking paper to protect the table, but also so that the cloth doesn't get stuck to the table when the time comes. So we're going to position this here, and then we need to blow up a balloon and put the balloon inside. So I've changed my jug to a cup because the jug had a handle and that wouldn't have worked. So make sure you have nothing with a handle. Okay, this needs to be smaller. Okay, that's kind of perfect. So now I'm going to make two more exactly the same. So I've now got my three ghost silhouettes. The main thing we want to remember is that this cloth has to touch the floor, otherwise they won't stand up, or you can shape them once they're wet. So I've got a smaller one, the biggest one, and then for some unknown reason this one came out pointy, but we're going to embrace having a pointy one. Okay, so I've tried to make sure that all the bits of the cloth are down at the bottom there. So hopefully this is going to stand up by itself. So let's just take a moment to do 2 more. Amazing. Okay, I think these look perfect. So these are just going to get left overnight. So there we have my 3 little ghosties for now. I've just tried to make sure that there's enough material on the floor to eventually hold them up, and I've tried to kind of pinch in the material to make a cool shape, but making sure that it doesn't go on the pots underneath, because that wouldn't be good. And hopefully using the baking paper means that it's not going to get stuck to the table or stuck to anything else. So now I'm going to wait for 24 hours to let this dry, and then we're going to put eyes on, pop the balloons and see what happens. So I will see you tomorrow. It is now the next day. Everything has dried for 24 hours and they are feeling a lot more solid. So I feel like this one I could pick up and pop it down by itself. So when I pop the balloon, that's going to look really, really cool. They are a little bit wet still on this bigger one at the bottom and this one at the bottom. So I'm actually going to put a little bit more glue on just the bottom so I know it's going to be a little bit stiffer, and then I'm going to try to blow dry it and see if that makes it dry a little bit quicker, because I'm not going to lie, I'm impatient. I don't want to wait another full day for it to dry. So I'm going to put glue on, hair dry it, see if they stand up on their own. I have been checking up on my ghosts all of the time and I know how good they're looking, so we're almost ready. So we need to cut out the eyes and I'm using black felt. Now this is quite thin black felt because you don't need anything that's very thick. And everything I'm reading is telling me that I need to use the purple matte, which I will, but it's saying I need the deep point blade, which I have, but I'm actually wondering if I can just use the normal blade because it's not very thick felt. So I'm actually going to see if the blade that comes with the Cricut is going to cut it literally, and if not I will switch to a different blade. So I'm just going to try to do 3 sets of eyes. Like I think I'll just do big ovals. I don't think I'll do a mouth. I think I'll just do the ovals and then see how that looks, and then we're gonna pop the balloons. Yay! Yeah, I need another blade. So this would go to the felt and it's made the kind of outlines, but it didn't do anything else other than stick the sticker that was on my felt to the purple matte, which is unfortunate. So let's try again with the deep point blade. It is telling me to load the fine point blade, which isn't working. So I've loaded the deep point blade and hopefully this is the one. Okay, round 2 with a different blade. It doesn't look like it's any better, to be honest. It's just, I don't know, maybe it's cut out, but I don't know why that's not working. I'm gonna cut it out with some scissors, I think, because this is annoying me. If you have any tips to help me figure out how on earth to do this with felt, let me know, because I'm using the deep point blade. I've got my felt on the mat. It's cutting like to an extent, but it's not actually cutting through. It's really annoying. The moment of truth has finally arrived. So first of all, I need to see if I can take the whole thing with the balloon off of the vase underneath. Let's move it off the vase. Okay, and then secondly, we need to see if it can hold its own weight, which it can do. Okay. Right, so next, I need to pop the balloon, and then afterwards I'm going to put some eyeballs on. So I'm just going to see where I want the eyeballs to go. So maybe here and here, quite close together. Okay, ready? Wish me luck. I'm going to go a little snip. Can you see it moving? That's really satisfying. Okay. Ooh. Yes! Okay, I kind of cannot believe that that's holding its own. Right, let me get these eyes on as quickly as I can. So I'm just going to use some fabric glue for this. Ooh. Okay, I am 10 out of 10 obsessed with this. I think next time I would put a little bit more glue on. There's certain places where it just feels like here it feels really stiff, and then maybe that bit, for example, doesn't feel as stiff, but Look how cool that is. It's worked so much better than I thought. So I now need to do the last ones and then I have my little ghost army. And there they are, my little ghost crew. I'm so happy with how they turned out. I kind of can't believe that it worked and that they just look so good. I'd highly recommend these. They are super cheap, super simple. You just have to have a little bit of patience, which I never have, but it's worth it for these guys. Quick question, what shall I name them? So I'm going to show you how to make this cute little pumpkin for under £5. All you need is a sock, some scissors, some twine, maybe some glue, but not necessarily, and a lot of stuffing. So the first thing we do is cut across our sock, which makes me a little bit unhappy to cut across a sock, but we need to do it. We need to sacrifice the sock for a pumpkin, so let's go. We need to make a cut straight across our sock here. I don't know why this makes me uncomfortable, but it does. Okay, snippy, snip, 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 snip. Perfect. So this unfortunately is wastage, but you know, is what it is. So we need to now fill our sock with our stuffing. This is obviously just a tiny bit of stuffing, but we've got plenty more, don't you worry. So these are more autumnal fun colours rather than tons of bright orange pumpkins. Obviously you can do those as well. I already have bright orange pumpkins at home. I have randomly a burgundy one, which I didn't make, but shame on me. More stuffing, here we go. So then we want to try and get our pumpkin to be pumpkin shape, or as much of a pumpkin shape as we can get it. So I'm going to do a little bit more. You of course can make it, if you want like a smaller one, less in there, but I'm going to make this one roughly the same size. Okie dokie. Stuff it down, make it into as much of a ball shape as we can allow ourselves to go. Perfect. Okay, so this is pumpkin part 1. So now we need to get our twine and take it around the top. It's a bit tricky to know how much you're going to need, but say you're going to go around it 1, 2, 3, 4 times and then around the top again. So maybe kind of 5 or 6 times around the ball. Snippy snip. Put this all to the side. Okay, so go towards the end of your twine. Make it as much of a pumpkin shape as you can. And then we are going to just cut we're just going to knot it around. Boom, 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 boom. Here. I'm only going to wrap it around twice because we're going to do more in just a moment. So let's cut that off. Okay, perfect. So we are about to transition into what I find the hardest bit, which is wrapping the twine around the pumpkin in a nice kind of shape. You see there it's slightly off to the side, so we're going to try to wrap it as best as we can. This is why I'm wishful. This is why I just hope I can do it. So we're here. We're going to wrap around once, and I would suggest going all the way around once, into the quarter, again and again, as if you were cutting cakes. So we're going to go up all the way around once. I'm going to slightly wrap it around, and then I'm going to go across. So we're going to go across there. So I've now got it in quarters, and I'm going to wrap it around the top, and then I'm going to come out to the side, and then I'm going to go down between the quarters here and up, and then I'm going to wrap it again and down and up. So there we have everything covered, and you can see there I'm just going to move it into a nicer position. I will cut this bit off in a minute because that's going to annoy me, I know. So here now we're going to wrap the twine, and we're going to go up and up and up and up and up to the top. Now this one, you can see I've just left some of the cloth at the top there because I think that looks really cool, but you can go over the top with the twine if you prefer to as well. So I'm going to wrap it around just a little bit here and here, and now I'm going to cut the top of the sock off because I don't want too much of a stem, so mind the old fingies. Boom, 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 boom. And then up a little bit more, and more, and more. And we keep going. I'm going to cut the rest of, I think. And then I'm going to come down here. And I'm just going to try and use my twine at this bottom bit to try and hide the bits where I went in to the pumpkin at the bottom. And then I'm going to come up one more time just because I've got enough twine left. And then I'm just going to tie it into itself. Here, bum, 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 bum. So this is where you could super glue it if you want to, but to be honest, I think that for me feels really nice and tight. I'm going to cut that off, and then I'm just going to trim the top of it here so it doesn't look like I've used an old sock. Cut, 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 cut. And there we go. And there we have our cute pumpkins. So there we go, we have a couple of cute little pumpkins, relatively easy to make. You can make the string tighter if you want to make it kind of like bulge out a little bit more like that if you want to. And you can of course glue the top, and you can make different sizes. So I've just made two that are roughly the same size, but I think they're really cute. And for less than a fiver, I think we're on to a winner. We're going to make some spooky candles, so of course you need some candles for this one and a Sharpie. I've also gone for a piece of paper just because I'm not very good at drawing, so I'm going to draw out everything I'm going to do in advance of popping it on the candle, but otherwise we're going to get cracking. I bought these candles 3 for £4, so this is going to cost me £4 in total. So I know I'm not very good at drawing, so I'm going to try to make some faces to start with and then just see what sticks. So we have this one. Okay, so maybe this one, but with eyes a bit further apart. Got this kind of face. I'm hoping this is actually going to stick to the candle because I'm not 100% sure that this pen is actually going to stay on the candle. Okay, I think I'm going to go for this one, but with smaller eyes and slightly further apart, and this a bit more rounded. This one I'm going to go for, and then this one, I think, or this one. And I'm just going to draw okay, I definitely thought that this pen was going to be better than it is, but it is not. So I'm just going to go over it again and again, see if I can get it a bit darker. Oh, it's not too bad. Okay, so here they are. Now, they haven't gone on as thick a black as I would have liked them to go on, but I still think they're pretty cool. Let me put them in this order because I think that looks a bit cooler. So there we have it. There are my ghosties. I'm actually going to see if I can get a different pen to kind of colour it in to make it look a little bit darker because it's just not quite there. We're 70% of the way. Okay, last resort is black paint. Honestly have no idea if this is going to work or not, and I don't know if I can be precise enough because, as you may know, I'm not very good with painting. Okay, I think that looks pretty cool. I think we found our answer. Right, hopefully this circle will be a little bit easier. Number 2. Interesting actually, because the pen is making the paint stick. I don't want to test it because I don't want to ruin it, but I feel like it wouldn't necessarily stay on if it was just on the wax. Not perfect, but considering it was about to be a fail, I think that is a win. It's a little bit smudged if you look really closely, but we won't look closely. We're just going to put them a little bit further back. But don't worry, because I have another fix for this, which is going to be putting vinyl on, which will either be in this video or it's already up in another video. So we will save these candles and we will repurpose. We are going to make a little floating ghost decoration, and hopefully we've got everything that we need in the house already for this one. We need some glue, some toilet paper, some cocktail sticks, some foil, something to stick the cocktail sticks into, and then we're going to hang it. And you can use something like a hanger if you want to. I'm going to use a little gold ring that I already have. So we are going to ball up some foil and put the foil balls on top of cocktail sticks, and then I'm just going to use this foam sheet to stick the cocktail sticks into. Then we take a piece of toilet paper and put it in a mixture of glue and water, and then we're going to put that over the top of the little balls that we've made, and then leave it to dry, and then draw little eyesies on before we hang it up like they're floating. I don't know why, but I'm already impressed that this is working. So let's try another one. So I'm just leaving enough of a gap between them so that the toilet paper sheets don't stick to each other. So I'm now going to add a little bit of water to the glue, not much to start off with. Give it a little mix around. And then I'm going to start dunking my toilet paper in. I'm probably going to need an awful lot more glue than this, but we just need to start somewhere for now. So mixy mix. That's just how much I've got right now. It's a tiny, tiny amount, but that's okay. So now I'm going to get a piece of toilet paper and just dunk it fully. And dunky, dunky, dunk. And I'm just going to hope that I don't rip it on the way out. And let's see. Now it has ripped, but I wonder if it's salvageable. No. So I tried the dunking method and that did not work because the toilet paper is too fragile. So I'm now going to try and paint it, or glue paint it, I guess, if you want to call it that. So I'm not even going to press that hard. I'm just going to let the glue naturally do its thing. This one's broken again, which is really annoying. Okay, let's go again. So attempt number 1 didn't quite work. We're on attempt number maybe 5 right now. So the plan is to put the tissue paper over the top and then put the mixture of glue and water on top, so effectively painting it on. I have had a couple of holes come up, but I'm then using small squares of toilet paper to effectively repair the holes because it's going to be glued on, and then we're just hoping for the best. That's all we can do for the last part. So I'm going to finish off doing the rest of these, putting the toilet paper over first and then brushing it on. And then hopefully we can leave it to dry and have some ghosties. So they're all painted. I've had to reinforce the tops of some of them with a second piece of toilet paper. And now I'm just trying to lift the toilet paper off of the foil. So hopefully it's not going to be stuck onto the foil as it dries. There we go. And then I can just reposition them all a little bit better. I have made more than I need because that's always going to be the way with things like this. I'm going to leave them to dry overnight now and then come back tomorrow and then try to finish them off. All my little ghosties are all dry and they are feeling pretty solid, so they are now kind of crispy, which is really cool. So I'm going to draw little eyes on all of them. My concern is that the foil is going to be stuck to some of them, but if you remember, I made more than I needed, so hopefully, even if that happens, I've still got enough. And then once they've got the eyes on, I'm going to take the foil out and use my invisible string to thread through the top of them. I'm just going to do one piece of string through the top of the ghostie, and then I'm going to hang them off of my gold hoop. But you can hang them off anything. You can just tack them into the ceiling, or I could just hang them off like here if I wanted to. So basically any way you want to. And I'm going to do different heights because it will look better if they're spookier heights. So now I'm just going to loop this over the top of my gold band just so I actually have one already done. I'll take this off. There's the end. Problem with it being invisible is that I cannot see it. Second ghost is now dangling. So you have one there and the other one. Okay, there we go. They're both swinging. There we go. So I'm going to cut to having all of them done because otherwise you're going to be bored. Here's a little bit of the puppetry. I'm obviously just holding it. I'd usually pin this into the ceiling, but I just want to be able to get it in shot for you. So these are my ghosts. What do you think? I'm not going to lie, this took me far, far, far longer than I thought it was going to be. Each individual bit wasn't too bad until it was the very last bit, which was tying all the invisible string because you can't see invisible string, and made everything really, really tricky.